There's a money trail. Checks have been cashed. We have the money. So why would they put that in the movie? Again, because they want to make the Democrats look good and make Trump look really bad by hinting that Trump was so corrupt with Putin, even the Republicans were concerned about it. It's not true. So here is, not a very bright person, Nicole Wallace in MSNBC, who pretended to be a Republican when she thought she could make a few bucks, now pretends to be a liberal on MSNBC. She's interviewing Dumb and Dumber guy, Jeff Daniels, who is playing Jim Comey in a just disastrous Showtime show full of errors, a movie called The Comey Rule, which is I haven't seen it because I refuse to watch it, but Jerry Dunleavy has a great breakdown I hope to get to here before the end of the show about how many errors there are in this Showtime movie about the Spygate thing. So Jeff Daniels, the Dumb and Dumber guy, plays Jim Comey. So instead of I have no problem with him acting. He played Jim Comey all he wants. He's just reading a script. But that's not what he does here. He decides to go on MSNBC, and Joe, Dumb and Dumber guy, Jeff Daniels, is now an expert on Spygate and the collusion hoax. Of course, because he's an actor. He knows, what do you know?
Oh, yeah.
Dopey audio guy, me, former cop. I'm just an idiot. We're two morons. What do we know? We only wrote 3 books on it, talked about it for 3 years. But Jeff Daniels knows more because he's the Dumb and Dumber guy. And he's on with Dumb and Dumberer, Nicole Wallace. And listen to this exchange about the Russia hoax. And watch Daniels. He does this trick. Paula noticed it right away, where he sits sideways in the interview like this because he's too important. He's an actor, of course, so he's smarter than all of us. And when you sit sideways in an interview, it's to let people know your attention is only halfway there. That's the trick. You body language people, you know what I'm talking about. You sit sideways like, I'm only paying attention to you out of one ear. Because my other ear, I have to pay attention to other things like my cat in the litter box and things I deem more important than you. So Daniels doesn't even give her the respect of looking at the camera, but he's clearly a scion of intellect on the Russia hoax. Watch this embarrassing cut and watch Nicole Wallace totally fangirl here. Check this out.
Do you think that there is an explanation that is known to all of us yet for why all the lies about Russia?
It's not known to us yet. No, it's not known to us yet. But if it were a Hollywood script, they would kick it back because the bad guy's too obvious. I mean, look.
That's certainly.
I mean, it's just a badly written bad guy. I mean, it's so transparent. And the fact that I believe it was the New York Times today wrote an article about Putin reaching out to maybe call a truce on the cyberspace thing with, America,
right.
Though admitting nothing, right? That's Putin getting into the lifeboat on the Titanic. Okay? What are they talking about in Helsinki? What were, all the stuff? I mean, there's all of that. The tax returns that he won't show us. It's so obvious. And where is he getting the money? Where did he get all the money? And I mean, all roads, as Speaker Pelosi said, all roads lead to Putin. And, time's running out. This is a bad movie we're living through. That's what this is. If it weren't so life and death, it's a bad movie.
No, it is a bad movie, just the one you're in. It's not the bad movie where the movie you're in is actually entirely factually inaccurate. But you didn't know any of that because you're the Dumb and Dumber guy. I love when he says things too, and Nicole Wallace, who really is factually challenged. She's not very bright, Nicole Wallace at all. He says at one point, where's all the money from? Like, we're going to look at his tax return. I thought the New York Times just wrote a whole story on his tax returns. Did you? Hold on, let me see. Do I have still a screenshot of that? I may have kept it. No, I sent a screenshot yesterday in yesterday's show. The New York Times story, there's a highlight at the bottom. Yes, we found no evidence of any connections to Russia. Did he miss that? That's the New York Times, like their paper, the lefty lunatics paper. Did he miss that story? And Joe, you notice the sideways? And you notice how at one point he seems to look down at a computer like, hey, hold on, you dunce. You're not important enough to me, even though you're MSNBC. Hold on, let me check my email. Oh, what do we got? Hey, we got my Raycon earbuds. Let's check let's put them in. Want to listen to some tunes? I downloaded some new songs. He doesn't even have time for her. And she's like, he, fangirl in an embarrassing exchange.
The hell was that?
I have no idea.
I mean, really? I'm listening
I mean,
to him. What the hell is he
embarrassing
saying?
for both of them. He's a moron. He doesn't know anything about the case. She's supposed to be some credible anchor at MSNBC who was a never Trump Republican. She's really a liberal. And she doesn't even have a basic, she can't get out of her own way that she's interviewing the Dumb and Dumber guy. Let me just say to actors, seriously, you work for, I respect what you do. And not all of them are, some of them are very talented. I'm not, not all of them are liberals. There are a lot of actors, believe me, because I get emails a lot, that are, in fact, conservatives. But I'm really sorry. Like, I don't really want your advice on the Russia hoax. I don't. I just don't. When I want carpentry advice, I go to a carpenter. When I need an architect for a plan, I go to an architect. When I need an engineering diagram, I go to an engineer. When I want advice on the Russia hoax, I don't go to Jeff Daniels, the Dumb and Dumber guy, who ironically is in a movie called The Comey Rule on Showtime, which is littered with basic inaccuracies, and neither him nor Wallace Nunn. Let's go to this piece. The great Jerry Dunleavy at Washington Examiner, and I do mean the great. He gets a double great today because he does terrific work and was all over the collusion hoax before many people were. He's got a great piece in the Washington Examiner. I need you to read. Now, why? Dan, why are we giving any daylight, sunlight to this stupid Showtime movie with the Dumb and Dumber guy? Why? Because, ladies and gentlemen, people are watching this movie and they think it's real. Great piece in the Washington Examiner. Showtime's The Comey Rule badly distorts Crossfire Hurricane investigation. Ladies and gentlemen, people who are influenced easily, let's say, are going to watch this movie on Showtime. They are. We can't just make it go away. And they're going to believe the movie is, in fact, real. It's not. Let's just get through some basic facts here. The movie screws up. Basic facts, like a basic internet search, you can figure it out. Here's the most glaring one. Here's screen cap number one here about Mike Flynn. The movie seems to hint and intimate here that Mike Flynn was in Russia in 2015 at an RT thing while he was a member of the Trump campaign. General Mike Flynn later became Trump's. Keep this up. He was in Russia 2015 dealing with Putin. Well, he was in Russia in 2015 at an RT dinner, which nobody ever found anything wrong with, and all he reported to his superiors. But he wasn't part of the Trump campaign. Quote, Jerry Dunleavy. One, there's no evidence this conversation they allege in the movie between Flynn and Putin ever occurred. Kind of a big one, right? And at that time in 2015, Flynn was not even a member of Trump's campaign. Kind of a basic fact, the movie screws up, which he didn't join until February of 2016. Yeah, Flynn was at the RT Gala, but Flynn has insisted that he and Putin merely exchanged a few pleasantries at the table and nothing more. But that's not what the movie shows. The movie hints at this 2015 nefarious meeting, RT dinner, where Flynn was paid a speaker's fee to go. That he had this big conversation with Putin, and Putin, you were on the Trump campaign, right? He wasn't on the Trump campaign until 2016. I don't even know what you're talking about. But people who watch the movie will believe that. No, Putin, backdoor deal. Flynn was on the Trump campaign. Do you even do homework? That's just not true. You just made that up. That's what happens when the Dumb and Dumber guy gets involved. Here's another one. There's this conversation where they pretend Comey and McCabe are all wired in. The DNC has been hacked, folks. It says, quote, an alleged conversation between Comey and now fired Deputy Director Andy McCabe muddles the timeline related to the Russian hacking of the DNC and Clinton campaign chairman Podesta. In a scene in the movie that appears to be at the FBI sometime in March of 2016, McCabe tells Comey, here's the movie, there's been a cyber breach of the DNC. Looks like the hack went all the way up to Podesta. The malware led us to a string of code we've seen emanating from Russia. Okay, none of that's true. We still don't know if the DNC was even hacked. The strong likelihood is that they weren't by Russia. And that code emanating from Russia, even the company that determined that, CrowdStrike, from the next screenshot, had a recant later. By the way, how could that have a conversation about the DNC, air quotes, hack, happen in March of 2016 when, one, the FBI didn't even look at the servers, CrowdStrike did, and didn't even inform the FBI until June of 2016? Had to give the three-finger-ooski there. Quote, so Joe, keep in mind, this conversation supposedly happened in March of 2016.
Yes.
But the FBI would not be informed of those hacks until many weeks later. CrowdStrike publicly accused Russia of hacking the DNC in June of 2016, which is March. That's Joe, correct? Just check me here. That's after March, right? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Checking it. You go to your Flipper calendar,
March.
whatever you have there on your desk.
My fingers, yeah.
With that, WikiLeaks published tens of thousands of emails on July 22nd, 2016. The FBI announced an investigation on July 25th, 2016. Again, basic timeline stuff the movie gets wrong, but for effect and to propagandize people, what did they tell you? Yes, it happened in March of 2016, which it didn't. There's a lot in here. Let me go to one more. I mean, how many times are we going to have to debunk this stupidity that the Republicans paid for the dossier first? Folks, I don't know what to tell you. That's just not true. The Washington Free Beacon, which is a conservative-leaning outlet, did pay for Oppo research on Donald Trump. They had nothing whatsoever to do with the Steele dossier. Nothing. Here. In the movie, of course, but they want you to believe that because they want you to believe like Trump was so corrupt, even the Republicans were into this dossier thing. From Dunleavy's piece. In another scene in the movie, Bill Prystep from the FBI dramatically announces to the investigative team that the FBI has received Steele's now discredited dossier, and Prystep in the movie falsely claims that, quote, the original financier of the dossier was a Republican never-Trumper, and the funds to finish the dossier then came from the Democrats. Ladies and gentlemen, that is just false. That is made up, hooey, garbage, wazoo emanating material. That is just 100% false. But it's in the movie. So liberals who aren't smart enough to do their own homework will watch a movie on Showtime with the Dumb and Dumber guy and fangirl Nicole Wallace, and they'll believe that's actually true. Republicans paid for the dossier. Let's go to the last screenshot from the piece where Dunleavy just, again, facts get in the way of that. In actuality, Steele was not hired by Fusion GPS until Clinton campaign lawyer Mark Elias of Perkins Coie hired the opposition research firm. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a money trail here. We know the Democrats paid for the dossier, not the Republicans. It's not hard to figure out. There's a money trail. Checks have been cashed. We have the money. So why would they put that in the movie? Again, because they want to make the Democrats look good and make Trump look really bad by hinting that Trump was so corrupt with Putin, even the Republicans were concerned about it. It's not true.
You just heard Dan Bongino.